Hello and welcome to Perth in Western Australia. And over here there's a lot of interesting and unique aircraft that fly around. I think in part because of all the mines littered throughout the state with a very high fly in and fly out workforce. So since I'm over here for work, I thought it might be interesting to go and check some of them out. So in today's video, I'm off to Kalgoorlie with QantasLink in an Airbus A320. And whilst Jetstar fly these aircraft all around Australia, you'll never see them in Qantas colours in the East Coast. So I thought it might be interesting to check it out. So let's head to the airport. I make videos about planes and sometimes swallowing flies in front of those planes. If you're into trip reports on board aircraft throughout the world and tours through interesting aircraft in museums, then check out my channel for more videos. Also, don't forget to subscribe and press the notification bell. Here we are at Terminal 4, which is used exclusively by Qantas. It connects to Terminal 3, which they use for their long-haul international flights to London. They've got these self-check-in booths open, and after collecting my boarding pass, I dropped my bag off at the automatic machines. After taking a wrong turn and getting slightly lost, I was off to security and then into the terminal. Things are very alive inside the terminal, and other than everyone wearing masks, it looks like pre-COVID Perth. Luckily for me, the Qantas Club was closed and we were directed to the refurbished business lounge. Now usually this would be reserved for business passengers, obviously, and those with platinum or above status with Qantas or their affiliates. I'll give you a brief tour, with there being plenty of seating separated by these fantastic looking plants and wooden planks, although I'm sure the architects or the interior designers would have another name for them, to provide some levels of privacy. There is a self-serve collection of salads, and there's also pizza available, which I'll show you more once I sit down. And finally, there's this bar, although there's actually two, with barista-made coffee and booze after midday. I found a seat in the corner, sat back and enjoyed the view. The pizza was either a pepperoni, red onion, parsley and chili option, or there was also the vegetarian, mushroom, ricotta and thyme. I went for both and a coffee.
The mango base, very refreshing with the mint.
Oh, thank you. Sounds good.
Oh, thank you very much.
Thanks for that.
Enjoy.
Thank you. And after relaxing for a while, I took off for a walk around the airport. Here's our aircraft, an Airbus A320-200, first flown by Jetstar Asia before coming to Australia early in 2021. This aircraft type was the first narrow-body jet built by Airbus after their success with the A300 and competes directly with the Boeing 737 that you can see here. The Boeing first flew in 1967 and the A320 followed in 1987, so it's a much newer design. While Boeing have been upgrading the 737 gradually, up until the 737 MAX now, there have just been two A320 series with the CEO, which stands for Current Engine Option, and then NEO, which stands for New Engine Option. Engineers aren't known for their creative naming, although I guess they're quite accurate names. This is the CEO being an older aircraft, and the main difference is that the newer one has bigger and newer engines. You'll notice that the A320 is higher off the ground than the 737. In fact, the Boeing's engines have this flat underneath part of the engine cowling just to give them a little more ground clearance. Being lower has the advantage of access both for luggage and passengers and even engine maintenance at regional airports, although obviously being closer to the ground leaves less room. And speaking about interesting aircraft, here's a Fokker 100, and I'll be flying one of those tomorrow and vlogging the journey. Our flight was called and I got on board. As I said earlier, this A320 was from Jetstar, so it's got a Jetstar interior. There's no business class and the legroom is, well, unique. Not a problem for my 47-minute flight to Kalgoorlie, but it might hurt a little on longer flights like Perth to Darwin. Here's a quick tour of the seats, beginning with the overhead air vents, which remain exciting for me. And in front, there's this fold-out tray table and modest legroom. There's no in-flight entertainment, or streaming, or Wi-Fi for that matter, so make sure you bring your own. And outside, there's a great view of the wing and engine. There's also no power plugs, again okay for this short flight but potentially more of an issue on a 4-hour flight to Darwin. The doors closed and we took off to the runway 24.
Welcome to QantasLink. Today you're travelling on an Airbus A320. Listen carefully while we explain.
I'll stop talking so you can enjoy the noise of the International Aero Engines V2500 engines spooling up and some pretty great views of Perth's CBD and Swan River. And later, keep your eyes peeled as the views of the gold mine coming into Kalgoorlie are equally as impressive. We took a left turn at 1800 feet, spinning around and then ascended to our cruising altitude of 27,000 feet, with a top speed of around 880 kilometers an hour. The views were pretty spectacular and we eventually cleared the clouds and the green and yellow, thanks to the canola, fields came into view. Unfortunately, as I said, there's no Wi-Fi on board any of the A320s, so there were no mildly amusing Instagram updates throughout the flight, but feel free to follow me anyway at Paul Stewart Aviation. As the flight is only 47 minutes long, there was just a snack offered of water and cheese and biscuits. The crew were really friendly in my interactions with them and offered extras of both. The flight itself was actually pretty turbulent, and if you look closely at the wings, you'll see it flex up and down quite a bit. Now you can certainly see that the ground below is getting drier and there's a tinge of red, which became much more obvious as we got closer to and descended into Kalgoorlie. So, what's the QantasLink A320 like? Look, it's fine. You can tell it's from Jetstar with the unique legroom and the lack of in-flight entertainment, but otherwise the experience is almost identical to that in a 737. I'll use a car analogy and it's much like a Toyota Camry. Perfectly reliable and comfortable transport. Well, there's limited legroom and no in-flight entertainment, although that's Qantas's decision with their interior fittings rather than Airbus. Now, some planes really tug at your heartstrings, or just look cool like this Sabre fighter jet, which kind of looks like me. I don't know why, but the A320 is just a bit meh. Having said all of that, this really is a first world pretentious social media influencer problem. Today, I still flew 600 kilometers through the sky in a tin can, and that is really something special. With airport security, unique legroom, no Wi-Fi, expensive airport food, blah blah, it really is easy to forget how cool flying actually is. And maybe I'm just a Boeing man, so I'm a little biased, but I'd be keen to hear your thoughts on the Qantas A320 or the A320 in general, so please comment below with those. So Kalgoorlie itself was established in 1893 as a part of the West Australian gold rush, and evidence of this wealth can be found driving around the town with some very impressive old buildings. Right next to the town is the Super Pit gold mine, which until 2016 was Australia's largest open-cut gold mine. It's 3.5 kilometres long, 1.5 kilometre wide and 600 metres deep, and in 2019 they produced around 14 tonnes of gold. It remains a big employer. In fact, I'm fairly sure that most of my flight were FIFOs. And we've landed into Kalgoorlie, and actually before our scheduled arrival. My next flight will be on board the Qantas Fokker 100, so make sure you keep an eye out for that on my channel. Thanks for watching, and I hope you particularly enjoyed the views and getting on board this rare aircraft. Don't forget to comment, give thumbs up, etc, and I'll see you another time.